this is your life. And one day you're going to be on your deathbed looking back on it, and you're going to evaluate it, and you're going to give it a score from 1 to 10 based on whatever criteria you want. For me, I thought the most important thing in life is to be happy and fulfilled, however you're going to get there. For me, I knew that was all about realizing my potential, doing it with purpose, and having amazing relationships. So, but what score do I want to give myself? Right? If I want to give myself a 5 or a 6 or a 7, like that's fine, but that's not what I wanted. Said I'm going to live my 10. And then that became like a mission to figure out what that was and what that meant and how I was going to do it. Developing the kind of internal operating system, the thinking and decision-making processes to make that happen. So with my parents, like I'm really grateful. I'm fortunate. I had great parents. I know that the hard parts of it don't necessarily show that, but my dad for the first 20 years of my life was my role model, my rock, my hero. Like I thought he was the best guy, and I learned everything from him. When he kind of fell into his problems, when he, got into like drinking and so on, it really shined it was kind of like a flashlight on everything. I call it like a tale of two dads. This was the one dad I knew, and this is kind of the other dad I knew. And it was really important for me to look at that and say, okay, I can't just be like him, because it might end up like this. And I love my dad very much, and I still do, but I can't be like him. And it forced me to be super intentional about who I wanted to be, and almost design that person from scratch. Who do I want to be, and how do I want to show up, and what makes this version of Cory. With my mom, it was tough because this was a time where no one talked about mental illness. I just knew that mom was one way some of the time and another way other times. I didn't really know what was going on. She never talked about it with us. I didn't know how bad things were until it was really bad, and inevitably she takes her life. And that's really when I realized that I've got some decisions to make in life. My mom had mental illness, my grandmother had it. I was terrified it was coming for me too. This whole thing for me, all my work, everything that I do, started as a survival mechanism. Rewire my brain to not end up like that. I didn't know you could beat mental illness, but I thought you got to try, don't you? And I just got to work on rewiring my operating system. It turned into that survival mechanism kind of turned into a thriving mechanism over time. And I just kept developing it and building it to the point where I started teaching it to other people. Cool. And that's what leads us here today.
Cool. Well, damn it, you seem like a happy guy, Cory. So yeah. I want to know what's working for you, and selfishly as well, because mental health is definitely something that I have struggled with. So, what would you say are some of the things that you've found most helpful in taking care of your mental health and going from a 7 to a 10?
Yeah. And I like that you're saying that, like from a 7 to a 10, because I think too many people think about mental health as like you're either fine or you're struggling. And if you're struggling, you're at a 2 or a 3. So let's get you up to a 4 or a 5. So you're just kind of normal, like
getting by.
Right. But like all the opportunity, all the amazing stuff in life is on the upper end of that spectrum. So why aim for 5 when you can aim for 10? And it's a choice either way.
Yes.
I think the problem is that most people just don't realize that it's a choice. So everything happens by default. Kind of like mediocrity happens by default.
Yeah.
Nobody gets out of bed in the morning and says like, go mediocrity, right? I can't wait to be mediocre. So to answer your question, the very first lesson that I learned and is the most important, is really the backbone of the Personal Greatness Project and the Mental Gym, is just owning your life. Own your decisions, own your actions. No blame, no excuses, no poor me, no bad luck, no these are my circumstances. Like none of that matters. It's who do you want to be and what kind of life do you want to live? Make it happen. And this isn't to be like cold about that, but that's the reality of it. You can have all the reasons in the world. I could have said like, I'm an addict and I'm depressed and my life sucked and I have a shitty marriage and I'm a bad dad and all these things. And I guess I had all the reasons for why that could have happened, but so what? I've got the reasons, but then that's my life. That's not the life I want. And what I learned so early was by studying people was that the people I knew who were happier tended to take more responsibility for their life. I didn't hear them blaming as much or making excuses. And the people who were unhappy would always talk about, it's not my fault, or that person did this thing to me, or this thing happened to me, and being victims. And so I thought, well, if people are victims are less happy and people who take ownership are more happy. Why not just scale from 1 to 10, take 10 responsibility from them, ownership? That just made sense. And so that really is kind of the backbone of everything. I would encourage anybody, if you learn nothing else in your life, if you could take full responsibility for everything, and not just for who you are today, but for who you want to be, and not just for where you are, but for where you want to be.
And I love the distinction. I've heard the saying before, like, something that happened isn't necessarily your fault, but it is your responsibility to take care of. It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. And again, it's not meant to be like, get over it, dude.
Yes.
It's not that at all. It's just, let's call it what it is. You got a decision to make here. What do you want to do about it? Do you want to live your 6? Because that's kind of where life's pointed you. Or do you want to just take responsibility and own your 10 and live your 10?
Cool. So, so tell me about the Mental Gym and the Personal Greatness Project.
Sure. Personal Greatness Project started as, when my first son was born, I just felt this huge sense of responsibility to try to make the world better for him.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? I think we do that by helping good people be great, by tapping into all that untapped potential that we have, that we know we have. I grew up like that from so much of my life. I have all this untapped potential. What can I do with it? Where do I start? What questions do I ask? What do you do if there's a version of yourself that you want to be, and you have it in you, but how do you get from here to there? How do you become that version of you who lives that life, who has that impact, who's a leader, who inspires people, who makes a difference, who matters, who's a part of something that matters? How do you get from here to there? So the Personal Greatness Project started as my attempt to start bringing that out of people, to upgrade their internal operating systems, to help them just operate at a much higher level in life. And the results were just incredible right from the beginning. From like the very first pilot workshop, I was kind of blown away by the not only the wide range of results that people were experiencing, but also the quality of them, and then how they continued to build even without my involvement over years. So that was really exciting. And I just started experimenting, working with different types of people. I started with high school students and university students, and then some athletes and team coaches and business leaders, ran programming for teachers. It was this very cool process of just being like a scientist in the lab doing a lot of experimentation, but always looking for that best way to implement it, that best way to bring it into people's lives and make it simple and practical and accessible. I was in CrossFit one day. I go to a CrossFit gym and was very much inspired by the culture of the gym and the way the gym works and the mentality of it, and how you wouldn't go work out for 2 days or 2 weeks and then be like, cool, I'm good for life, I'm done. That makes no sense. It's a lifestyle. It's just a part of who you are almost. And so the mental gym is no different. So it's like going to the gym for but instead of going for, lifting weights and running on treadmills, you're working out your mind and your potential.
Yeah.
Small group classes with like-minded people who also want to be their best, very interactive and conversation based, but still with, curriculum and lesson plans. And it's like a gym. It's a monthly membership
and a practice.
And you show up 1 hour once a week. That's your commitment to yourself. And as long as you're doing that, you're going to become that you that you've always wanted to be.
Cool. And what are some of your favorite, do you have a particular, whether it was with a student or a high school student, like someone's kind of before and after of how they like went from their 6 or 7 to a 10 or?
Sure. Well, I've got 2 that come to mind right away. One of them was the pilot program of this, and it was originally aimed at student leaders. And a young man showed up who was very much not a student leader. He had no confidence. He didn't believe in himself at all. He thought he was stupid. He had just recently failed math and just thought he was dumb. He was like a C/D student, overweight, really nice guy. Like his friends really liked him, but he was very, talked about like bad relationships he had. He was always fighting with his brother. He was going to be content just getting any job out of high school to pay the bills. This guy's like 16. He'd already thrown in the towel on his life. And it was heartbreaking for me. And so rather than saying to him, like, I don't know if this program was really for you, and it's like, well, it's inclusive. All of this is inclusive. So we met for once a week for 10 weeks with that pilot group. And that guy lost a whole bunch of weight, became a straight A student, got into 7 universities. Right now he's at U of T, which is so cool. All of his relationships changed. He stopped fighting with his brother. He had better relationships with his parents, with his teachers. His friends talk about him as just this different guy with this, who went from like a limp fish handshake to like a rock solid handshake. He just believes in himself because he saw this version of himself that he could be, which he never knew before, and was equipped to become that person. Mm-hmm. So his story is one that I just love because he's on a totally different trajectory in his life. Mm. And then another one that I love is actually a member of the Mental Gym right now, who, when we met, I was doing some workshops for his company. I was brought in by like an outside consultant, and he's the now CEO. At the time was kind of this CEO in training as he was kind of being handed the company, but he was kind of a goof. Like, people didn't take him seriously. He was a partier. He had a vision of this company he wanted to create, but he didn't know how to implement it or build the culture. The team needed a lot of work. And just over time, watching his transformation from kind of who he was to the leader that he can be on a business level, just seeing tremendous results with his business. In the first 9 months of us together, he secured $400,000 worth of contracts that he just weren't on his radar before. We were just speaking the other day. He said this year that's going to be an extra $1 million. That's super cool. Lost 30 pounds, works out all the time, eats well, sleeps well. His friends and his family, and especially with his girlfriend, like, everything's just so much better in his life. And he's getting that this is who he can be, and this is who he should be. And so now his vision of where he wants to take his company, which is a pretty good sized company already, but his vision for what it can be in the future and where he wants to take it from kind of what it was when it was, as he transitioned into taking control of it, to what it can be. It's really inspiring, and it's really cool to watch him own that role and just show up every day and lead by example.
Cool.
And everything changes. The company culture changes. The teamwork changes. The results change. Obviously, the bottom line changes, with all the extra revenue. And it's exciting stuff. It's exciting to watch good people be great.
Cool. Yeah. And what would you say is the thing that you most need help with right now?
So I think, like a lot of people, I'm kind of great in my lane and not so great outside of my lane. So the Mental Gym is something that I'm so excited about, and it's wonderful, but I'm so in my lane when I'm about the Mental Gym, writing lesson plans, leading gym sessions, building the culture and, community and things like that, and having the vision of what I want it to be. But where I'm not strong in marketing, I'm not strong in kind of targeting that message and finding the people who it's for, which, as I'm learning, is kind of like for everybody. Everybody resonates with this message, but how do you get that message in front of them? My social media game is non-existent. I think the content I put out is really solid, but my ability to get eyes on it is terrible. I could use some help in really just like nuts and bolts implementation and kind of integrating the vision into the real moving parts of it. I think there's a lot of people with a lot of amazing skill sets that could really help out. And I'm looking for people who really want to be a part of something special and help build something that I believe is going to change the world. Cool. as it grows and grows and becomes normal in people's lives. I go to the physical gym, I go to the mental gym.
Totally.
And so people with, all these different types of skill sets, be it, branding or marketing or kind of COO type skills of, I see your vision, I can help you implement it and integrate it. I'm really looking to build a team of awesome people to come together and let's build something great together.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this. I have to hop off shortly, but I was really great connecting with you, and I would love to end with, where can people get in touch with you? Where can they learn more about the Personal Greatness Project and the Mental Gym?
Awesome. And thanks for having me. This is great. Mental Gym and Personal Greatness Project, you can find it at www.personalgreatnessproject.com or on Instagram at the Personal Greatness Project. Amazing. And those are the two best ways. And I encourage anybody to reach out with questions or, just book a call to talk and learn more about the gym and see if it's a good fit for you, for your company, for your organization. And I just love meeting new awesome people. So
cool.
So by all means.
This has been great. Thank you, Cory.
Thanks, Dan.
Be in touch. Awesome. Take care.